Do you want to hear something insane? Every 95 minutes, my agency books a new qualified appointment automatically. Every single week, we bring on about 4 to 6 new high ticket clients. And last month, in the last 30 days, we did over $134,000, and I'm just 20 years old. So, in this video, I'm going to show you how to get so many appointments that it feels illegal. So in order to get this many appointments, I'm going to walk you through a very simple 3-step framework that I use to be able to do this, okay? And this is all through cold outbound without spending any money on ads. So the very first thing that we're going to need to do is set up the foundations, okay? Now I'm going to explain a little bit of the nuances inside of this because you've probably heard this before. I'm going to tell you what this actually means, okay? So the first thing that you are going to do when you actually build out a system like this is you need to figure out what processes need to occur in order for someone to become like a completely cold lead and turn them into an actual qualified appointment, okay? So the way that I did this personally, right, is you have to figure out where's your audience online. So for me, a target agency owners, obviously, the best place to find those people is typically going to be on LinkedIn, okay? You have to look at your ideal client, you have to map out the exact kind of person that they are, where they hang out online, what they like, what they're interested in, what their goals are, and then from that information, you're going to be able to find the best platform to reach them on. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory. The biggest issue that I made with this, and the reason why I was able to go from 30K per month to over 100K per month in the span of about 3 to 4 months, was because I figured out this one change, this one mistake that I made, right? So what I was doing before is I was trying to target agency owners, but I was using Instagram, okay? And if you guys have been following me for any time, you know that I've done a lot with Instagram. I'm pretty good at Instagram, right? Now, the issue with targeting my specific audience on Instagram, right, is most of those people aren't there, right? The people that I'm looking to connect with aren't there. And although I was able to make it work, the quality of my system was very, very, very limited, and the output of my system was limited because I was basically using the wrong platform to actually reach my ideal clients on, right? So when I made that switch to LinkedIn, when I actually figured out where these people are, it was very easy to scale it because it was very easy to get in contact with these people, and they actually truly understood the value in my offer just because I was reaching the right people, okay? And then once you have the right platform that you decide you wanted to reach people on, what you need to do at this stage, and what I did at this stage, was I built out a linear process that someone must go through in order to become a client, okay? So now we know where our ideal clients are. We need to figure out what is going to trigger them to actually book a call, okay? So typically when I try and take someone from, like, by reaching out to them, when I try and take someone from a cold lead to a booked appointment, there's typically a 4-stage process that I follow, okay? So the first stage that I typically use to book these people in is the initiated stage, right? And essentially what this is where you send out your initial or your initiation message, right, which is basically enticing them into learning a bit more about what you do, right? So for example, for me, I would ask a potential client, hey, would you be open to hearing about how we signed whatever, like 21 clients last month, right? And that's obviously just a random number, but like you just put how many, like the result that you got, right? And approximately like I said, we bring on about like 5 clients a week, 20 clients a month, right? So you would say that result, what they're looking for, right? If someone needs help getting clients or someone needs help getting appointments, obviously they're going to be interested in how we got 21 clients last month, right? So what happens at that stage is they go into stage 2 if they're interested, right? And they would go into the engaged stage. And what that is where they're essentially engaged, they're interested in what you do, and then we send them over a pitch, okay? And what this pitch is going to consist of is basically social proof is a big one. It's going to consist of your offer, your guarantee, whatever is special about you guys, and then a call to action to basically book a call, okay? Now, what I've also implemented at this stage, which really changed the game for me, is a very strong follow-up process to people specifically who are actually interested and who are actually engaged. So if we do all this work to send out all these initiation messages to these potential clients, right, and we get someone who's actually interested, it is we have essentially got permission from that person to pitch our thing, right, and obviously to get a response from them. So when we send our pitch, most people are not going to book, or they're not going to reply right away, and they're not going to be interested right away, right? So what we actually do is we will take that lead and we will scrape the internet to find that particular lead and their other contact details, right? So what we can do on LinkedIn, and this is really nice, is we're actually able to find their phone number, we're able to find their email, and we're able to find a whole bunch of different ways to contact these people. And once we get them interested, once we send them the pitch on LinkedIn, we're going to follow up with them on all these different platforms, giving us the most amount of touch points to be able to actually able to get them back engaged, back into the conversation, right? Now, if they do say they're interested, if they do say they want to hear a little bit more, then what we do is we bring them to the 3rd stage, which is the calendared phase, right? Where we would send them a calendar link. And then after that, they go into the book stage when they book. and they book a call. Okay, so it's important once you have these 4 steps and you have these 4 phases, you can it's not like the set you have to do 4 phases. Maybe you want to add another one at the start, right? This is just what I found to work, and you want to define what KPIs you're looking for, right? So maybe you want a 2% minimum booking rate, right? And when you have this is what people miss out on, is they don't take the time to actually track their data. They don't take the time to know what their numbers are, and then when they try and scale it, right, they don't really know what they're scaling because they don't have the right information, right? So it's important that you know exactly what your conversion rate is, and once you have that number, then appointments becomes predictable. Okay, so that's phase 1. So step 2 is all going to be about execution and proof of concept. Okay, so now once you have this idea, you have this theory, you have this hypothesis about how your system is going to convert and how many appointments, what percentage of people are going to book from the amount of people that you send to, what we need to do is we need to reverse engineer this into the amount of inputs that we need to send in order to get the desired result, right? So let's say, for example, let's use the 2% example, right? If you will have 2% of people book, right, and let's say you want to book 2 appointments every weekday, so let's just say 4,500 or 45 to keep the math simple, right? In order to be able to get to your goals, right, of getting to 45 appointments per month, 2 a day for the weekdays, right, you're going to have to divide that number by the percentage of people that are going to book, right? So if you do 45 divided by 2%, you get 2,225. We'll run to 2,200 to make it easy, right? And if you divide that by 22, which is the days in a week, you're going to have to send 100 outreaches per day in order to be able to reach your 45 appointment goal if your hypothesis is correct, okay? Now, what you're going to do at this point is we actually need to test it, okay? So you're going to consistently, and this is the main thing, is consistently send out 100 outreaches every single day, okay? Depending on the platform you're using, you can use automation, you can use different things like that, but you need to be able to be consistent with this, or else your numbers are never going to line up, okay? So once you're doing this, right, there's 2 things that can happen, right? So you run this for a month. Either number 1, you get to your goals and you get to that 45 appointment per month mark, okay? If you do that, we can move on to phase 3. However, 90% of the time, if you just come up with this hypothesis of these 4 stages and you're like, yep, it's going to convert at this percent, you're probably going to be wrong, and there's probably going to be some changes that you need to make, okay? 99% of the time, you're going to need to make some amendments, okay? So what you are going to do at this stage, right, once you actually do this for a month and maybe let's say your KPI is at 1%, this is a very, very important, or your booking rate is at 1%, right? This is a very, very important thing that you get right. So what a lot of people will do is they will see, oh, I wanted to get 2%, I only got 1%, that means my system doesn't work, okay? And while that is correct, it's also not enough information, okay? So I'm just gonna give you an example, right? Let's say your car broke down. You have no idea why, your car just broke down, and you took it to the shop or whatever to go and fix it, right? And the only information that the mechanic had to fix the car was that the car was not working, okay? Now, this is what a lot of you guys are doing when you're trying to run these appointment booking systems, and I know this because I talk to 8 of you a day, okay? And really what happens is you're like, okay, the car's not broken, so I'm gonna fix the engine, okay? Now, what you're doing is you're basically guessing that the reason why the car is not working is because of the engine, and maybe you have some guess, some educated guess that you think it's the engine, but you don't know for sure, okay? And what could be wrong is the axle of the car might be broken, but you're trying to replace the engine, okay? And translating this into the outreach and into the marketing, okay, is if the only thing that you know is that your system is out of KPI and you don't know why it's working, you're probably going to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed, okay? So what people will do is people will say, oh, my appointment booking rate is half of what it needs to be, therefore my pitch is not good, okay? But a lot of the times what will happen is the pitch might be completely fine, but the initial message might be bad and not enough people are even seeing the pitch, right? But when you change the pitch and nothing happens because not enough people were seeing the pitch anyways. So what you need to do is you have these 4 stages, right? You need to track the conversion rate between initiated to engaged, engaged to calendar, and calendar to booked, okay? Because if you'll notice, if you track all these data points, that there's going to be a larger drop off between a certain one of these things, and then you'll actually know what to fix, okay? So if you notice that your engaged to calendar and your calendar to booked is pretty straightforward, 25% of the people who see your pitch actually book, that's pretty good, right? But if you only have 3% of people actually interested to see your pitch, then it doesn't really matter, right? But if you only know the entire booking rate and you don't know that initial like drop off, then you're probably going to fix the pitch or something. You're going to fix the wrong thing. And the same thing, vice versa. Maybe you're getting a ton of positive replies, right, to your initial message, but when people see the pitch, no one is booking. This also happens to a lot of people, right? And what ends up happening is they change the initial message, right? And there was nothing wrong with the initial message because it was actually working, right? The problem was with the pitch, but because they didn't track those individual data points, they didn't know, okay? Now, again, going back to what I was saying before, if you're in that situation where you just built the system, it hasn't worked out the way you wanted it to, then what you need to do here is you just need to iterate, okay? So you use the data of these different like stages, right? You figure out which part of the stage is being which part of the process is being bottlenecked. You fix that one, test it for another month, and then you can see if your hypothesis worked or not, right? Did the metrics improve? Did the metrics get worse? If it worked, you go back to baseline on the thing that you just changed and you change something else, okay? If it improved, is it at 2%? If yes, move on to stage 3. If not, you're going to have to keep repeating the cycle until you get your system within KPI, okay? So that's basically how you do step 2. And once you have the proof of concept, then we're going to get into the next stage, which is scaling. So step 3 is all about taking what you have that is already working and then exponentially increasing the amount that the amount of volume that is going through the system, okay? Now, I went from $30,000 per month to over $100,000 per month in less than 100 days. Now, the reason why I was able to do that is because all the way at that like 30K per month mark, it was just about setting the foundations, okay? It was just about figuring out the system that worked, right? It was just about figuring out like how do I actually take someone from this stage to this stage to this stage to this stage. Once I figure that out, it's very, 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 very easy to scale. The difficult thing is about getting the right conditions in order to be able to scale, okay? So right now, my booking rate on LinkedIn is about 7 to 10%, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? Once we were able to achieve that, the only thing that we did is we increased the amount of LinkedIn accounts that we had by 5 times, right? And what that means is 5 times the amount of messages were being sent. And what that means is we made 5 times the amount of money and signed 5 times the amount of clients, okay? Scale is not difficult, but finding the system that you can 5 times and maintain a super high return on, like you can call it return on ad spend, return on appointment spend, right? That's the difficult part. But once you have that, if you can manage the operations to take more clients, once you have the optimal setting system, that's what I call it, then it's very, very easy to scale, and appointments will no longer be the constraint of your business until you cap out your market, right? Which will take a significantly long period of time, right? And I'm not even close to doing that, right? I'm still able to 5x it again, 5x it again, 5x it again. I just brought in another setter. We're increasing our LinkedIn accounts by another 50%, okay? So probably in January, February, March, like by the end of Q1, like I have no doubt that we'll probably be doing 200K a month because we're good at what we do, right? Like we can deliver, we can take on more clients. Operations is not the constraint. It's just about getting more appointments in, right? And if we just double the amount of appointments that we get, we're going to double the amount of money that we make. And at this stage, it's so easy to double the amount of appointments that we get because we have the right system in place. And that is exactly how I built it and how you can build it too, okay? Now, if you want me to just build the system for you, if you want to just copy the systems that we've proven and that we've worked to work in over 65 marketing agencies in over 45 different industries, you can click the link down below. I'll be happy to get in a personal conversation with you. We'll talk about how it all works. And other than that, I hope you have a great day, and I hope this was helpful.